is Die Hard a Christmas movie, and why?
I mean, does Christmas take place in the movie? Yes.
That's too literal for me.
Do I consider it a Christmas? I mean, I don't think Die Hard when I think Christmas. I just don't. You know,
it's fine.
It's not one of my. It's not like one of my go-to Christmas movies. You know.
What is your go-to out of interest?
I mean, I always watch. I mean, every year I have to watch It's a Wonderful Life. I just have to.
Nice.
I've been watching it for 35 years. So
it's always the oh my god, I can't think of the name of it. It's like the most Christmas Carol. That took me so long I was just trying to think.
Yeah, I actually prefer, if we're going Christmas Carol, I'm going Muppets Christmas Carol on that.
I haven't seen that in so long.
Yeah, man, that's got Michael Caine as Ebenezer.
Yeah.
That's a good piece of business.
He's a brilliant Brit as well. So he's doing his bit.
So yeah, I'd say It's a Wonderful Life is one of the go-tos. I always liked, of course, The Grinch, every version of it. But what did we watch? We also watched, my wife and I, Edward Scissorhands, just because it's snowing at the end. And what else did we watch? It changes every year, I suppose. Yeah. But never Die Hard. I don't know. I don't know.
I honestly can't tell you the last time I actually watched it. I used to be so scared of the Grinch because he's quite a scary figure if you're like a young kid and he's
a little weird.
Yeah, and Jim Carrey's pretty all over the place. So
yeah.
But also, wasn't Taylor Momsen in that, and now she's busy being a rock star?
I don't know. Maybe.
I'm gonna sound really dumb.
I am IMDb that shit. Let's get the producer, pull it up.
Yeah, I need one of them. Maybe.
We need a Jamie or whatever his name is.
Yeah. I need an off-screen guy. That's gonna sap the budget somewhat. But so, and there's a question that I've been dying to ask. Well, there's the last guy I spoke to, and I asked a similar question because you're both really good hat guys. You've both got really cool hats, and I've never been.
Who's the other guy?
His name is
the Cat in the Hat.
He has a really cool hat, and I just can't pull off hats. And I want to be able to, but I just don't think. I think it's the long hair, but I want.
Maybe you just haven't found the right hat for your melon. You haven't found the right size for your
melon. Yeah, I can do the kind of beanie, but like I can't do anything like. I can't do like a statement hat,
Typically, if you feel that way about like a fedora style hat, which I don't like the smaller brim. If you go wide brim, you'd be surprised. It kind of makes you want to dress a little different and walk with your shoulders back a little bit more. So, you put on that hat, and you get a little like 10% boost of confidence or something.
Yeah, it's not even like fake it till you make it. It's like it actually takes you that next level up. That's pretty. Yeah, maybe I need to just go for it. But I don't know if it would work for me. I think my head's too round. I think it would just. I'd have to like
own it. You just gotta own it.
Yeah, I'll give it a go. Maybe one day. But funnily enough, I'm going to tie this in. I'm going to magically tie this into an important question. I was watching through your interview with Captain Anderton.
Oh yeah.
Your most recent.
The new one or the original?
Yeah, the most recent one. Oh, okay, I've got the old one, isn't it? And I'm just like asking you questions from years ago. I was watching that and I found it really interesting what you were saying about moving towards singing and kind of a change of what felt like a sort of a change of pace from the usual kind of what someone might expect when they kind of think of you. And I was just wondering what you kind of how you feel that like, your sort of pursuit of like identity in music, because I think that's something that loads of musicians kind of not always struggle with, but are all kind of like chasing after. And
right,
how do you feel that's kind of like changed in recent times?
Well, it's interesting because in the beginning you have such specific goals and expectations, and you just kind of want people to accept that you're doing something. You want them to listen. You just listen to me. you do anything you can to get people to listen. And then you keep doing that, and especially I'm independent, and I've been kind of the guy standing on the street corner yelling for, at this point, 7 or 8 albums. So like for me, the evolution isn't so much about like getting bigger or financial end or any of that stuff. It's just literally about just following whatever is exciting, because by doing everything my own way for so long, I've kind of developed a really sort of specific fan base. I have that bedrock fan that I always kind of wanted. And because I have been doing this for long enough now, and I am still relatively young, I look at this always as just do it and just kind of see where it goes. This is a long game. Hopefully I'm doing this in my 70s and 80s, which is intimidating, but the whole thing has just been what do I feel is exciting right now, and just do it. The singing thing, I have another project with a friend of mine where we both sing on it. I just started writing a bunch of music, and it just happened to creep into what I thought would be a cool addition to my solo stuff. I just wanted to try it, and I did it. I might do it again, I might not. Who knows? But that's the fun of it.
Yeah. And how do you? Because like I find singing, like I've kind of tried it. Like I've tried. I think I've given it like a proper try. I don't mean just like I sit in my bedroom singing. Like and it's so. I think the word I always use is like exposing. Like there's something so much more. Like I feel so much more embarrassed messing up a vocal line than a guitar line. It feels so much more intrinsically tied to your personality and like how you put yourself across. Because it's funny, like the little things, like how much your facial expression and everything changes the sound of a vocal. People would argue, you take John Mayer, his face is all over the place when he's playing guitar, but like when you're singing, it's very like representative of who you are as a person, I find. Or it's not that guitar isn't, but it's just that it's so directly tied to it's like talking, but just with some notes. And how have you found that whole? I don't even know what the question was. I was just going to say.
I think man, like I don't think about that shit. I don't care. Like if I got an idea I want to sing on, I'm just gonna fucking sing it. Like I'm not gonna go like, do people like, am I making the right note? Like I would never get anything done if I was worried about that. Nothing would ever get done. You just do it. You just do it. And if it's like, oh, it's not fitting into what I expect people to would react to, you don't want them anyways. Do your own thing. I don't think about that. There's not enough time, and like I want to do way too much in a year. There's not enough time to worry about the minutia. You just do it, man. Who gives a shit?
Yeah. So it's interesting because your kind of take on it almost sounds like I don't have time to worry about these things. Like,
well, if it's exciting you and you feel like this is what you need to do to express yourself, and the longer it sits there, it just starts to kind of rot, and then you move on. Just get it out, man. If it's exciting you and you believe in what you're doing versus being intimidated that maybe you're not doing it the right way, I think you're losing out.
Like Shrek says, better out than in. He's got it down.
There you go. You can always reference Shrek in some way.
Yeah, I'm here for all those references. Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. Just that idea of trying to expose yourself to new things. Yeah, do you ever? Because obviously, with by nature of your kind of playing, there's lots of kind of there's lots of quite technical stuff, even just watching you kind of improvise and that. So when it comes to putting out a new idea, or maybe like a melody line that you think, oh, is anyone going to kind of get that? Or like an idea, do you have that kind of mental thing of, are people going to like, if you try a new, slightly wackier idea, do you ever think, oh, is this going to work? Or are you very much, like you say, just pursuing what you...
Yeah. Again, I'm fully all in on just is this making me feel something? You know, at least for me, I play music all day. I'm thinking about music 24 hours a day. It's my job, it's my life, whatever. You know, at some point, you could just go like, oh, whatever, I'm jaded, everything sucks, blah, blah. Or like you're just playing and you're listening and you're being open to things, and anything at all that comes along and excites you at all, that's a gift. That's something. It's like, yes, I have a new thing to pursue. And if it does anything at all to you, I don't care what genre it is, what style, if you're singing, if you're not, whatever. That's what I chase. I just chase, because you know that feeling when you write something that you're just like, it's like euphoria. It's the best. So I'm all about just trying to get another shot of that every time.
Yeah, just full on addict. It's just really well disguised in a career. Like, yeah, that's great. I was saying, I've said to a couple of people, and no one's quite got it. And I maybe we will resonate here. I always find if I write an idea that I think is really good, if I'm like really, really super stoked about it, I get like a bit of an adrenaline hit, but it to the point where I will just play the idea like 1,000 times. I'll just keep playing it, and then I get nothing productive done with the rest of my time. Like if I write that idea in the first 10 minutes of my session, like that's the session. Like I'm done. Like, you know.
That's great though. That's great. You're just running on that high, man. Just enjoy it. Just live in that moment of like, fuck yeah.
You're making me think of I don't know why all the movie references coming out. You're making me think of who's the turtle in Finding Nemo. You know the one.
Oh yeah, sure.
Just the super chilled out one.
Yeah, sure.
It sounds like you're really quite like great. It sounds like sort of grateful or gratitude, or so I don't. If that's kind of the right word? But like it sounds like you're quite, I guess, sort of grateful for when those experiences come along, and I think a lot of people maybe don't realize that. That's just my impression from talking to you for all of 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's something about when you actually can see or whatever, however you interpret music, you can notice that your songwriting and your thought to translating it to reality is getting better. There's something about that where, you know, when you're doing it or when you hear back or as it's happening and things are all working together, there's nothing better than I'm just like, when that starts to happen, it feels like some sort of magic. And that's how I know I still have something left to say, and I can feel the beginnings of a new album start to kind of creep in. So when I get those moments, that's like electricity, you know, it's like what I'd live for.
Yeah. Has it always been that way?
Yeah.
That's
yeah, it's never it never gets old. You know, never.
Yeah.
Never.
It seems very much listening to you play in a more improvised manner. You know, if I sort of flick through your Instagram and just listen to some of the times if you put up a little sort of clip of you noodling, it looks very like it looks very much like from the outside what's in here is going onto the guitar quite quickly, at least from an outside in perspective. Do you feel like there's that? Do you feel connected in that way that other people see it, or do you think maybe are you sort of, because I know if I was playing the stuff you were playing, my brain would be going shit, what's next, like just trying to keep up.
I mean, honestly, it's day to day. Like, you know, I've tried to sit down and shoot a little thing, and I'll throw something up, just some bullshit, and I had like nothing, just like, and then some days it's just, you know, I'll just sit down and I'll play just some of my best playing ever on a Sunday morning for an hour, and I'm just like, I don't know why. So I think it's a bit of both, you know, and I tend to respond a little bit to pressure a bit, you know, if let's say it's like a take in the studio or from playing live or something, I'll I'll be able to kind of like talk in like to myself as I'm playing and thinking, now you're gonna go here. Okay, when this chord comes up, we want to hear the ninth on top of that. Like there is some of that going on, but it just kind of depends on you know, what songs I'm playing, depends what tone I have. Improvising to me, there's like endless variables. So if you see me playing well and things are moving forward nicely, that means I have somehow gotten through every impossibility and made it work. And that's why I posted it. I mean, it's hard. Guitar, no matter how good you are, how confident you are, whatever, it's just so hard. And I always go into it humble and just like, I'm just going to play and kind of see what comes out and not expect anything. And just kind of play to my strengths. I'm always trying to play to my strengths.
I think that's the thing Steve Vai says. I remember him. It's a bit of a sort of contentious one as to, like, I think he says something along the lines of, sorry Steve if I've misquoted you, I'm probably not even going to get this right, but he says something along the lines of working to your strengths, the idea that if you don't like something, don't practice it, you know, don't work towards it. And I kind of agree to some extent, because I teach guitar, so it's kind of, I've got hopefully some idea of it. And I try to say, on the creative side of things, I say, well, you know, some people get really hung up on not learning like whole songs. I'm like, well, do you like the verse in that song? You know, if you're trying to be creative with it, it's like, do you want to take in information that you don't want to output? And it's a tricky one, because sometimes there are things you might find in there that you didn't know you liked, you know.
Yeah.
But equally, you don't want to just go taking in information that's you're then going to output, because it all kind of comes out in some way.
Yeah, it's true.
You don't want to go putting that out there.
Yeah.
Do you find much time to do the taking in of information? Because it's obviously, you know, if you're busy writing, sometimes obviously you need inspiration. Obviously, don't you? You can't just, well, some people can pull it out of thin air. I can't.
I do. I try to, excuse me. I've been home since like middle of May, basically. And I leave next week. So I've had these, few months. And typically when I'm home, I at least I'm walking at least 1 or 2 hours a day. I'm diabetic, so I'm very like conscious of my health and everything, blah, blah, blah. But I'm always looking for music and yeah, absolutely zero. You know, nothing's off limits, right? It's like just give me stuff. And sometimes it'll just be whatever. I'll just see what's new and whatever came out and is doing well in the world. I'll just listen to it. I couldn't even tell you what it is. I just want to hear what's going on. I think you have to know, even if you're not listening to new stuff. I don't particularly think that's important. It's just listening to stuff. It's just, you know, whatever you can do to open your ear up a little bit further. I think you're always just trying to crack it open a little bit more. That's my goal anyways.
It's tricky to I never know where to put that balance of like taking in information and putting it out there. So, you know, as in like listening and learning, and, you know, obviously you can spend all your time like preparing, and that can just lead to that can eventually form just procrastination. You could almost procrastinate your way into learning every song in the world, and then suddenly, you know, you're however old and you haven't written any songs yourself. You know, you'd be perfectly prepared like 40 years down the line and go, oh, okay, you know, bit late to go touring the world with my band, or not. I'm not judging, you know. Like, do you feel you have a good balance of like taking in inspiration and getting it from head to guitar?
I definitely create, or try to create, more than I listen these days. It depends, you know, it's changed always. It always will be kind of in flux. Depends on what I'm listening to, what I'm interested in, or just how burnt out on sitting here and working I am. Sometimes I get, you know, you just don't want to hear anything you've done or even think about. But again, it's another one of those things I don't really worry about. If something is in an imbalance somewhere, it will correct itself. just on, following my kind of, heart, so to speak. I'll know when I have to do something. I know when something's burning me out and something needs to change. I've been using a lot of on this new record I'm doing a lot more like sequencers and modular synth stuff, just because it's like it's time to change. Maybe I don't want to use strings and stuff and horns. Maybe I'll do something totally different. It's the same kind of thing. Like you just know when it's time. Something needs to change. You just feel it.
It can be so hard to trust your intuition sometimes, like just let go and just sort of go, what do I need to do today? Rather than like, I'm guilty of like being too much of a planner or like a, hour by hour. And then I never stick by it anyway. So it's absolutely pointless. Like, I think I'm trying to teach myself to just embrace like the sort of I'm always trying to figure out what's the not easiest, but I mean like most streamlined way of trying to write a song or something. And I think I spend so much time thinking about that. If I just sat and played the fucking guitar, I'd just get a song out pretty quickly, whether it'd be any good, I don't know. But if I did one a day for a week, something good to come out, I find it so hard to kind of get out of your own head, with that process. Do you ever find yourself kind of thinking about your process as you're doing it, or are you quite good at just switching off and just like being in the moment?
Yeah, I do it so much. I spend so much time, between 7, sometimes 8 hours a day sitting here just working on stuff. So I'm just kind of letting, repetition and just pure sort of time spent, letting that lead me wherever it needs to go. Typically I write everything on a piano. So guitar is not really, although there are a bunch of them behind me, it's not really part of the process until the arrangement's kind of written. But as I'm writing the piece or I'm, finishing it or whatever, I will be thinking about, okay, well, here's where this is going to go. Or maybe I'll go back in and kind of second guess and be like, I don't know if I needed that extra bar there. I'll think about that, but that's like just fine tuning. And that's sometimes my favorite part sometimes of the entire life as a musician. It's just like the sitting here and, being like a spell checker for your own music. I really enjoy that fine tuning, so to speak.
That's such a great analogy, being the spell checker. I know the feeling. I always love adding like the so I was in a sort of metal band, and we're pretty straight down the line with like instrumentation, guitar, bass, drums, vocals. We have like strings and the odd synthy kind of sound, but it's pretty straight down the line instrumentally in terms of rock.
That's cool.
Formula. And but the thing I always loved adding, because we're a one guitar band, but so by nature I would always add in these guitar layers where like they're not designed to be like a part as such. They're meant to just be like a sort of sonic like kind of space, just like an atmosphere. That sounds pretentious, sorry. But you know what I mean? Like they're meant to just create like a layer to kind of give some more context to the fundamental part. And I absolutely love them because it felt like it's the last 5%, but it's so much more than that on top.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I heard someone saying not so long ago, talking about the piano and stuff. They were kind of, it was a guitar player, I can't remember who it was now, saying about how, I'm kind of joking, saying guitar's a bit dumb because like piano it's all kind of there, so it's symmetrical and or sequential even kind of, and so it's a little, there's more you can do immediately. Like you've got both hands, kind of, you've got essentially more notes you can hit, kind of. But I kind of disagree because I thought like the restriction that you have on the guitar versus a piano, I think that sometimes allows you, it sort of enables creativity where perhaps on a less restrictive instrument you might not have it. And I mean, when you sit down with a piano, do you ever just look at all of the keys and kind of go like, oh no, what now? Like, where where do I start? You know.
Well, you know, I think comparing instruments is it's a little bit of a, you know, it's like no point in doing that. They're so different, and they're kind of like they sound different. They're for different purposes, in my opinion. Of course, in the beginning, I didn't know what, you know, I looked at this thing and it's just, but it's like anything. I've been doing it now for, I got a little keyboard when I was about 18, so, you know, whatever, half my life at this point. And I have just slowly gotten better, and I've kind of figured out my I didn't take lessons or anything, so I just kind of figured out my own way to play it. And because I knew enough music theory beforehand, it just took a little while to get the shapes down for certain things. But, you know, learning anything new, especially an instrument where your ability that you were confident on another instrument is immediately taken away, is daunting. So I've done that with piano, and now I've done that with vocals. And now I'm doing both of those things on my own record. So maybe I am truly my own worst enemy, but you know, you got to do it. But anyway, I don't sit down and I don't know. I don't think about anything. I just do the work. You know, I just play.
That just it might feel like I'm just constantly like fishing here, but that seems so unusual to me. Like, and I'm not in a good way. Like, I mean it as a, you know, as a positive, because I chat to quite a lot of people and at varying levels of sort of I don't want to say levels of success, but different places in the industry, and even some that you would perceive to be far more successful than others. You still ask about the creative process, and it feels like there's so many obstacles mental obstacles that they're fighting through.
Oh, really? Like what? What are you usually hearing? What kind of stuff?
What was that? Sorry?
What are you usually hearing? Like what kind of things are presenting?
It's a lot of things to do with things like self-doubt or things like imposter syndrome. So much of this seems to crop up from... And I'm not saying this from me, although, you know, these things happen to me. That's been my experience of the people I've spoken to. I would say more often than not on this podcast, and just in friends in the industry as well. It feels quite unusual. Like I was chatting to, weirdly, it was only a couple episodes back. I was chatting to Rabea Massaad, and he was saying a similar thing to you actually. And I found it almost unusual about how he just kind of leaps into it a little bit and doesn't think about these things so much. It was kind of weirdly refreshing. I don't know what your take is on all of that, but there's not enough time in the day for me to even like get the stuff I need done. I can't be worried about if this is good enough, or I just don't. I went through that already in my 20s, in my teens. I cannot give into that anymore. I'm not doing that. Can you pinpoint?
Work and I can move on.
Yeah. Can you pinpoint a moment or like a period of time where you shifted to a more kind of free thinking kind of place with all of this?
Yeah, it's when I released. I put out a record which 2016 is called Remarkably Human. And I, at the time, didn't particularly think it was that good of a record. And I was like, okay, we'll see how this goes. And it just, you know, it continues to do well all these years later. And at that point, I was just like, well, there goes everything I thought I knew about music. I'm just going to do what I do. And in perspective, I was 28 when that happened. So it took a while. But I also, before I really was releasing stuff, I had people I knew that I don't want to call them mentors, but people in my life that I could go to when I was really young, 21, 22, send them music and stuff. And I always had these kind of really interesting conversations with older musicians, just talking about what I want to achieve and what are my goals. And, it always kind of came back to this melody and harmony and stuff like that. But yeah.
Yeah. So always came back to the important stuff, to be fair.
Exactly. Yeah. My whole take on it is just, honestly, man, I just sit here and work. I just work, just work. And I try not to have too much outside. I just sit down and I don't know. You know this. It's not always good. It's often you get this garbage that comes out, but you just have to just clear the pipes out.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the term, clear the pipes. Like, because if you just sit down and, like, I've been guilty of it so many times where I'll have some time away for whatever reason from, like, writing. I don't often have time away from guitar because I'm teaching it, so there's always something going on.
Yeah.
But I do worry I'm just going to start sounding like, like Sweet Home Alabama, Crazy Train, like one or a few others time if I do enough of this. But yeah, like, and then I'll sit down and I'll write some absolute garbage. Like, well, maybe not absolute garbage, but, like, nothing I particularly like. And I just I'm better now at reminding myself, like, it's because you haven't written anything this week or this however long, far longer than that sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I left the band that I was in recently. I think it's probably about 2 or 3 months ago. Because I just wasn't inspired. What was that?
What was the band called?
The band was called Insurgent. It was only a little kind of band. We were doing quite well for the time we'd been going, but I just wasn't feeling inspired within that sort of band, and that's a big part of this. One of the reasons I left, and so I'm just trying to get back into. Here you go. So, what would your advice be for me? Right, I was feeling uninspired for quite a while, really. I mean, I was with the band for like a few years, and I don't know. I was kind of just. I didn't feel like inspired with the group of people I was with. Basically, long story short. But for whatever reason, that inspiration, it could be any number of reasons, that inspiration just kind of plummeted quite a lot. And I'm sort of chipping away at it now and starting to feel it a bit more, which is nice. But what would be your advice to someone like myself whose inspiration is here and they want it to be here? For anyone listening, imagine me waving my hands around,
I mean, nobody can point you in the right direction. Either inspiration is a funny thing. Either you're kind of kissed by it, and when it's happening, you're kind of on top of it. But I don't know. My first question to you within that would be, what is something? What are you interested in? What do you want to do? Like, that's the first question. So many people, what the fuck do you want to do? Because that quickly will narrow your focus. You have. And if you want to do everything, it's like, okay, that's good for you. That's great. But, like, what do you really want to do?
You want to do everything. Which bit of everything do you like the most?
Yeah, exactly. Like, for me, it was easy. For me, it had always just been, I want a discography. I love the idea. And I've got like I'm just working on records. I just want to work on albums. And if I keep writing a lot of music and continue challenging myself, hopefully my guitar playing in my ear will get better. That was my goal, just write a lot. So, what do you want to do?
I think that goal's so well set up. Oh, sorry, were you asking me?
Yeah. What do you want to do? I mean, you don't have to answer, but I'm just saying, like, that's the first step.
Yeah.
And I can't say, like, well, sometimes being in a band is hard. You find it. Maybe you're like, I'm fucking done with being in a band. Maybe you want something else. And it's a question maybe you gotta ask yourself, honestly.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I think what I'm making sure to do is not let not a wholly bad, but like in part bad experience from a band put me off from being in a band. Yeah. For me, like, what I want to do is, it sounds a bit corny, like the rock star thing, and I don't mean in the sense of fame. It's not like I'm not just chasing like some, love and adoration. It's more that I love writing songs and playing them. And sharing that, with a lot.
So you want to tour and perform.
Yeah, I mean, it's that, and it's the writing. A lot of it is the creativity and getting what's in here in its truest form into the song.
But with a group of people?
Yeah. If I can bounce those ideas off of people that
man, you need to be in a band then, for sure.
Yeah.
Sure. That's cool. That's a cool, no, man, let's be honest. There's nothing wrong with that goal of wanting to be, that guy on stage. There's nothing wrong with that. And if that's your goal, first of all, you seem very ashamed of that. I don't think you should be. I think you should just chase that shit because you're the only one who's going to be doing that. So, if it's a band thing and the other band didn't work out, you know what to do, man. You find the new band.
You're going to regret saying we're going to meet in person. I'm going to be the biggest asshole you ever meet. I'll be so overconfident and be like, you did this.
Man, there's nothing wrong with if that's what you want to do. Why can't you want to do that? That's a legit thing. And you're an entertainer, you playing on every night, with cool bands. Like, I don't know. I've been lucky enough to get to be in that position. It's awesome. And it's a lot of fun. And if that's what you need to do to keep you interested in this craft for a while with a band, whatever, then that's, chase it. I think so.
I think what's interesting about your goal of the discography, it's thinking about it in that way, is it's quite a strong goal because it's quite set in the foundation of within your control, because having your own discography, that's nothing to do with like quote unquote success in any financial or like statistical terms. It's just the success of it is kind of is the discography there. Like, what's the quality of it in your own opinion? Are you happy with what you've put out there?
It's kind of also what it represents too, and it just represents, sort of a life's work. And sort of a life spent, chasing that thing, whatever that thing is, that thing we were talking about, that feeling.
Well, that hand action is money, I think. So,
and only in the UK. Here it's magic.
Oh, okay. It's lost in translation. Yeah. I like that though, because I think it's cool having a goal that is, like I say, self-contained in the sense that I don't mean in like a restrictive way. I mean in like the way that it's not reliant on, yes, you have to, I guess, have the money or a record label or whatever to get a record together to some degree, at least,
There's always obstacles with whatever you want to do. It's all right.
Well, exactly.
You overcome. If you want it bad enough, you've figured it.
Yeah. So what do you see speaking of your sort of discography, I don't want to sort of make you predict the future in terms of what your music will continue to sound like, but do you have any idea of a sort of where you feel like you're going direction wise in terms of not just, I don't mean like genre specifically, but like I guess how you approach all of your writing? Do you have any idea of where you feel like that's kind of going, and where the next 5-10 years of your discography, when you look back on it, might kind of represent?
5-10. Oh my god,
it's a little while.
I don't know. I don't really know how to answer that. I think obviously there is a big part of me that enjoys making these instrumental albums. I'm gonna do at least one more. One coming up. I don't know. Maybe I'll take a break from it. It just depends. I want to feel like I'm releasing stuff that is saying something. There's something worthwhile. I've got this. Excuse me. I've got this thing in the new year. I'm going to Tokyo for a month to do this artist thing, and I'm gonna try to write a whole bunch of shit when I'm there, and just see how like another place geographically will influence me. I think the only thing I can predict is I'll be probably more or less on the same track. Like in the last decade, I released 7 albums. I'll probably do the same thing again. I have the workflow now, and I have multiple projects. I have the timing down, and I don't know what it's going to sound like. I hope it's good.
That's a pretty good.
I don't know.
That's a good tagline for the podcast. I don't know what it's going to sound like, but I hope it's good.
Really hope it's good, man. I don't know. I don't know.
That's totally fair. I mean, I think again, it keeps you open, doesn't it? If you're kind of predicting what you're going to sound like, I guess I almost boxed you into a corner just asking that, but yeah, because I suppose if I said what's it going to sound like in the next 6 months, you could probably give me that's a bit more like, that's almost like the album preview interview question, it's like,
Yes, so yeah.
So that's why I was interested to ask, like, have you had any, because I again, listening to you, what I find kind of intriguing is you talked about sort of collaboration and sort of working with, you said with Archival, this kind of working with someone else, and obviously when it comes to particularly just purely listening to your guitar playing, for example, there's a lot of like ideas in there, and to collaborate with someone where you're going to have to kind of, I guess it's a different kind of type of music, but I think when you're so, this is, I'm not trying to be flattering here, but when you are so technically proficient and you can roll out a lot of good ideas on any one instrument, it must be difficult to kind of allow someone else in on that when you could have such a specific version of your vision in a song. Do you feel it easy to kind of let people in on your ideas, or kind of put yours alongside someone else's?
Yeah. It's not as scary as
I just made it out to be.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. It's not as scary as you think, especially, well, it all depends on what the mindset is going into the project. If you're going into a project with a band and the whole concept is we're in a band together, blah, blah, it's a democracy at that point. Everybody has their say, and everybody can take your idea and tell you why they can do a better job of it, or not. With that project with Archival, the whole point is, we come together. We still do, since it started, 2 practices a week, one here, one at his place, and it's he'll bring an idea or I'll bring a song in, and he could just be like, I can tell when he doesn't like it. All right, it's mine, and just fuck it. I don't need the song. If he's not excited about it, it's the same thing. You bring a part in, I'm totally fine with it. The only thing with my solo music I don't really want people touching if I'm collaborating is the arrangement. The arrangement's like, don't touch it, and try not to reharmonize too much if you can. And then, sorry, this camera's all wonky. If it's strings or piano or something, the more collaboration, the better, because I'm not that far down the road with string arrangements and horn. Like, I just play guitar and piano a little bit, so I'm all for it. Just don't touch my arrangement.
Or your camera, apparently. That shit's dangerous. It's got just as well I'm sober.
It's funny. It's this new that new Mac Studio monitor. I don't know how to turn that feature off, but
the irony of you moving around and then it just sits. I just hit myself with my microphone. Not going well. This is like technical, physical difficulties. This shouldn't.
Yeah.
I didn't plan any of this. Right, okay. So, yeah, because it's just quite funny as you moved along and it just stayed dead. Like, great. I think when you say arrangement, do you mean what do you mean by arrangement? Do you mean in the sense of like the actual harmony and melody, or do you mean like the arrangement in the sense of like structure, as in like order of
everything? Yeah, all of that.
Oh, all of the above. Cool.
Yeah, that's if you move a part or change a thing, it's not the thing. Yeah, but if you want to decorate it and you want to do a counter melody or put something in the bass, that's fine. But
so
I spend a lot of time. I spend probably the most time on the exact order of things and how long. Like that's my thumbprint. I think that's how you really get your own stamp on a song is obviously all the harmony, but then it's just like the presentation and the reproduction of it.
Because so hypothetically, if someone comes along and you've written a bridge section or something, and someone comes along like a producer or just another guitarist who's in the room and just goes and plays you a version of it that's like that you think sounds better, to your ears, not just like is objectively better, like you think you prefer it. Would you, assuming it's not like just an entirely different part, or even if it was, would you take that in and work with that, or would you stick with what you've got, or would you find a middle ground? Like, how would that?
It depends on what's the situation. Why am I there?
Oh, that's
because if I'm there doing a solo record, there's not going to be anybody in there that I don't know, or anybody that I am in there with who's going to be like acting as that producer role. So if I was playing in a band or playing on somebody else's record or whatever, absolutely, it's whoever. It's all creative. It's a big kind of creative think tank area. So whatever goes. I'm never precious about a part unless I've sat here and slaved over it for my own gain.
Yeah. No, I think the only reason I ask is because with the band I was in, one of the biggest like positive learning experiences for me as a musician, and I guess personally to an extent, but was sitting there we were quite a young. I mean, we're all I'm 24, and we first met this producer that we worked with when I guess I would have been 21, and we had all the ideas in terms of the riffs and the chorus hooks and stuff. They all sounded good, but it didn't really, before we took them into the studio, it didn't really sound like a song. It sounded like a collection of really good ideas. And I think we didn't realize that when we first went in, but the producer very much did. And he was really great at going, okay, this works, this doesn't, this works, this doesn't. Have you tried changing these things? And I don't think I've not learned, like I went to a music school, and I don't think I've learned as much in music school as I did in like, how many maybe weeks total I've spent in the studio working with him. So it's a weird one because our songs sound the way they do, largely because of who we all are, but also to quite a large extent from this producer, Tom Gittins, his name would be a bit criminal not to say. Who he would just be like, can we just change that chord, or just like there was a simple one where it went from a B to an A, or like a B minor to an A major, and he was like, keep it as an A. So this is getting very nerdy straight away for anyone that doesn't know any music theory. He's keep it as an A sus2, not as an A. He doesn't really know the chord names, but his ear is there, which is way more important anyway. So he played a suspended or an add 9, so it kept the B in there, and it just completely transformed the whole chorus. And then and he was really good at adding that in. And I guess I'm just ranting about me getting musical help, but I guess the grand point is, if you hear an idea, say it is your solo record, and you had that like particular, essentially, if I went in, I'm not wording this very well, but I'm saying essentially, if you took your solo record in and someone presented you with an idea like that, do you take it on board, or would you go, I just want to stick with what I've composed? Because obviously you have thought about it quite a lot.
I don't know. I've never been in that situation. I don't know. I suppose if somebody wrote something that was better and they're like, check it out, maybe I'd be like, that is way better. Or I would just say, that's really cool, you should do something with that. It just depends. It depends why that's all going down. But I typically write music, kind of with the door closed, so to speak. That kind of Stephen King thing where I write very selfishly. It's like, it's for me. I write for me, and then I do a revision to kind of clean things up, and then I get it demoed, get the drum or bass, and then I just release it. It's all for me.
That's great. Like, how do you know when it's done? Like, what's, is it just a feeling? You've kind of talked about intuition a bit earlier. Is it in terms of knowing, because you could slay over an idea forever? How do you just go, yeah, I'm happy, that's it,
typically you can kind of make a sort of educated guess if you're writing a song and you have the verse, chorus, maybe a couple little parts. You can kind of figure out how it wants to end, but sometimes it's more fun to kind of just take that and maybe use all that information in the song to get to a bridge that's going to take that idea and maybe run with it in a different direction. There's so many ways you can take it, but I think you just sort of use your previous stuff and what you've been writing in the past to kind of make a decision, like, am I doing this too much? Is this chord into that chorus? Am I keep doing that shit? I think you reference everything you've been working on to kind of help you get to a place where, like, this song's done now because I tried a new thing for the outro, or this bridge I'm going to move it up a whole step and now that's the outro. Like, you kind of have to trust in everything you kind of know about songwriting, and then also hoping that you don't step on your toes every single time. It's like kind of a fine line of innovation and just intuition, I think.
Yeah, it's a tricky balance. I think it's the kind of question that I sort of being selfish asking, because I know full well there's no good answer to that question. Like, yeah. It's a tricky one to, like, it is kind of balanced, but at the same time it's just like using your head a bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what you were talking about, the other thing that I found that I kind of latched onto a bit, you talked about going to Japan and how environment might affect your kind of process. And I noticed you're even just looking at the room. For anyone listening, it's a really spectacular looking room behind you. Is that something you kind of, do you feel like what's around you really like affects your kind of not just creativity but like mood and everything kind of going into that? Or can you I have some people sit in like a really sort of dingy room and come out with like the best.
I would say it's not so much my surroundings as more so what's happening in my life. I think, my stress levels, mood, all the trappings that make life harder. I think when things are moving smoothly, I could be in a basement. It doesn't matter. As long as I'm happy, as long as things are conducive to me being creative. I'm not one of those guys that responds to, I don't like to be starving or like a starving artist to be creative. I like to just be able to have a clear enough time in my life where, like, every day I know I'm going to be able to sit here and work. So for me, it's more so my life situation rather than my location.
Yeah, that makes a hell of a lot more sense. If you can have a comfortable life situation, hopefully you can kind of be wherever and turn out what works. It's more, so where are you mentally? And,
seriously, it really is.
Yeah. I think it's kind of, again, like I said, that's why I said it seemed almost sort of like surprising and like more like as if you were an outlier, not being distracted by the trappings of the world. And, like I said, my mobile phone is like my number one distraction, I just find I need to put it in another room. Otherwise my creative thing is just not there. So I guess my last little question for you is, like, with all these distractions, I know you said you sit there for quite a long time, on an ideal day. When you, I guess it's kind of a two-parter. Are you good at avoiding those trappings of day-to-day life? And if you haven't avoided them, can you still work through that and have a good outcome at the end of the day in terms of, I'm happy with what I've done creatively?
Yeah, well, it just depends. I mean, my trappings might be different than yours. I don't have a problem with social media. I don't really. Everyone's like, oh, it's ruining my life. I just look at it, and then when I look at it, and then I put it. It's done. I don't think it's whatever. So my trappings aren't social media. My trappings are like, I love going for super long walks. So maybe I'm just away too much. I don't get enough sleep usually. So sometimes my brain's just like going. So, did I get enough sleep? I have all the time in the world. My wife and I were both creative people. And when I'm not on tour, I'm home. and we're not having kids, so I got time. So for me, it's just if anything was going to be my enemy, it would just be like an abundance of, and that can sometimes too much time can freak people out, and you end up, getting nothing done. But I have my process, and I have my focus, and my trapping would probably be just, like not sometimes wanting to be here. The thing to remember too is it's not always about inspiration. It's about discipline. Discipline goes way farther than motivation. And dude, inspiration, you get that shit once a year. This discipline is every day.
Yeah, I've started trying to do cold showers, and that is definitely not motivation.
What are you, a serial killer? What are you doing over there?
I don't know. You haven't figured it out yet. It's for you.
Washing away your sins at the end of the night? What are you doing?
Well, I'm not washing them for very long because it's bloody cold. I don't know. I've heard it's good for you, and I say here it's actually not that. It's, although I have heard it's got positive whatever this and the other.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
Probably wrong. I don't know. But like for me, it's about doing something I don't want to do. And it sucks every time. Like I've not. I mean, it doesn't. It sucks less now because I kind of know what to expect. But it's just about doing something like you were talking about. Inspiration. I might feel particularly motivated one day, and like, yeah, I'm just gonna get in the cold shower because like, fuck everything today. I'm just getting through it. But like, that's not gonna happen very often. Definitely not gonna happen very often with getting in a cold shower. Why would it? But if I just force myself, even if it's like quite a like cold day and I'm like, oh, I just want a warm shower. If I can make it mentally, I'm like, oh, I can sit and make sure I do that email or like play guitar for however long or
right.
It's but maybe I'll just get to like old age and then find out that actually it's just been like ruining me. The cold shower's just terrible for you. Who knows?
Shit.
Yeah. So I mean, well, thank you for your insight and thank you for chatting.
Oh yeah, no problem. Anytime.
I need a question to prompt the next conversation starter. And I also need you to put forward an artist or just like a music person, someone in there.
Oh, okay. Well, one guy I like, he's an older gentleman from actually kind of the area I live in. His name is John Southworth, and he has a record. It's a double record. Came out in 2014. It's called Niagara, and it's one of my all-time favorite records. When it came out, I accidentally, there's a little small venue here in this town, and I happened to be at the venue this person I knew was playing, and I was just in the room, and this kind of guy came up and he sat at the piano and played some songs from his band, and I was completely like hypnotized. So check that out.
That sounds, yeah. Well, if I'm not hypnotized, I'm gonna.
You probably won't be, but I was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it's sometimes it's just about being in the moment, but ultimately, if it can hypnotize one person, that means it's connected in some way. So
yeah, exactly.
I'm sure it will with others. So yeah, if you had a question in mind, or if you could think of one now.
Well, I mean, it's always interesting, like I said, to ask yourself, some of those harder questions, and one of them being, what do you want? Or, why are you doing this? What's driving you? I think they're interesting questions to think about, especially when you kind of go beyond the surface of it.
Yeah. I like what's driving
motivated from your insecurities. Motivated because, you still think you're going to get some girls. I don't know. It's just like, it's interesting. It's just kind of cool to check in and ask those questions every so often.
Yeah, nice one. I think, well, hopefully that'll sort of steer the conversation in a positive way. I like I'm going to pick what's driving you, because I think that's a good one.
There you go.
specifically.
That's nice.
Yeah. Otherwise, they'll spend the whole time answering all of those questions, and I'll send them into some deep spiral. Yeah. So
Yeah, the deep spiral. You all know about that. Yikes. Yikes. Yeah.
content, you know. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, man. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was fun. Thank you. Thank you so much.